Howdy, old Demetri here. As you can see, I am in my car. It is because I am doing some hardcore dadding today, and that means we do not have time to go back and re-record the episode. Lauren and I recorded this week's episode on Wednesday at about 11:30-ish. And then it wasn't until 3 o'clock that we found out Bryce Young is actually going to start this week. Why do I tell you that? Well, number one, we don't talk about it. But number two, we do talk about it in the exact opposite way, in the sense of what is there to lose, start Bryce Young. So if you want to hear what we had to say, because it was more than just Bryce should start, stick around. If not, skip ahead about 8 minutes from this point to get to the very next topic. Thanks.
Welcome to This Team is Killing Us, a podcast about what the Carolina Panthers do to good people. She is Lauren Brownlow. I am Demetri Ravanas. And Lauren, what is killing me today is nothing is better, and we're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. I am not against Andy Dalton starting again, but if Bryce Young is not getting in there, it is both hurting his development and hurting his trade value. So tell me what the win is for the Panthers.
Win for the Panthers?
I know. What? Those are words we have not said a lot on this show.
We've said them once.
That's true. Well, this season.
Yeah. Well, because this week wasn't even a loss that felt winish, obviously. It felt like,
God, no.
No. So there was even nothing good to take from it, which is, the double dose of fun. But yeah, I mean, all I can think of is like, look, the offensive line has had some injuries as well. So
sure.
Maybe that's going into the thought process of like, okay, let's continue to leave him out. And obviously, like, I don't know what's been going on behind the scenes. We don't know. But it could be that you bring him out there and you tank the trade value if he's still as mentally cooked as he seemed to be early on, right?
So like, I totally agree that is not just a possibility, it's a very real consideration. But I do then kind of like you've then got to bite the bullet and do the hard thing of admitting that you're done. Like you're not going to try and revamp this thing. So let's figure out what it is going forward. Like I think every time that Andy Dalton has been in since week 4, like it reminds you over and over again, A, he's not a miracle worker. What can he really do? And B, maybe a nice couple weeks was the ceiling. Like this is not doing the team any favors at this point.
I mean, no, but at the same time, like if you want someone out there to take the lumps, I guess, with what this team is at this point, and maybe maximize whatever offensive potential exists behind all of these. Like basically, if you look at their salary cap, like I took a glance at it. I'm admittedly far from a cap expert,
right?
But looking at the disparity in the money spent on the offense and defense is, I mean, unsurprising, but also wild. Like you're like, oh, wow. And they still don't have any cap space. You know what I mean? And so like, that's one of those things where it's like, we paid for all these things. You might as well use them. I guess maybe it's a sunk cost fallacy a little bit, right? In the sense of like, well, who's going to help us play with these toys? That sounds bad.
I mean, listen, I'm sick of hearing you say the phrase sunk cost fallacy. That sounds like I'm accusing you. I'm not. I'm sick of assuming the Panthers are operating in such a way, but I don't know how you can't assume that's how they're operating, What
I would be doing if I were them when it comes to the Bryce thing is putting out this narrative of like, look, we've got people, working with Bryce behind the scenes, or maybe even give him a fake injury. Like, oh, he's been dealing with a nagging, whatever it is, but he's okay to come in some at the end of games, but we don't feel comfortable putting him in for the whole time. We're also giving him all this sports therapy and everything like that, because it at least makes you look like you're still trying to keep him. Right. Mm-hmm. And then B, look, there's nothing, we know this from years and years of the NFL draft. What do NFL teams love more than like unrealized potential? We've barely seen this guy play, but he looks great.
Right.
All right. Or he could be something. We just know it. They love guys like that. Better to leave that part unknown than to like play him and potentially remove all doubt.
Yeah, I do wonder all of the things that we have heard, and we talked about this, I think, right after week 3. Like, do we really believe there is an actual firm offer out there for Bryce? How much do we believe that there is actual interest in Bryce? Like, ESPN put out a list this morning, Wednesday morning, of what every team they are hearing would do if they add anything. Now, obviously, the Panthers, it is all about trade. However, they do mention that what they have heard expressed is the Panthers have asked some people about, the availability of offensive tackles. The writer of this column, the writer of this column suggests that, the real problem for the Panthers is the team that they should be talking to this about is the Jaguars, because they do have 2 viable left tackles. However, the Jaguars are probably in the same situation of they are more likely to deal than they are to take in anything. And I wonder how much that is the case with every asset the Panthers have. Like, is there anything that you can get back beyond a 3rd-round pick? I mean, I just don't believe the Deontay Johnson value is at a 2nd round plus another pick.
I mean, I would take a 3rd for him would even be great, because right now you're getting nothing. And they absolutely, like, it struck me even during the game when at one point, bless his heart, this 5th-round draft pick rookie defensive, starter. And I don't know if he was starting or just getting in the rotation, like committed a pass interference. And
Shaw Wade Smith. Yeah.
And had a rough little sequence. I mean, so did everyone on the defense. So not singling him out. It was more of a thing of like, this is what happens when you trade your first 3-round picks away. You're forced, or when you, no offense, I know you love him, but when you draft a running back in the 2nd round instead of a position of need, like this is what happens is like your defensive starters are coming from like, the scrap heap essentially. Yeah. And that's not a viable plan long-term for an NFL defense. It just isn't. And so like, this is what I'm talking about. Is like, you need those top 3-round picks. And it actually boggles my mind that you said they're looking at left tackles. I'm like, excuse me?
I mean, look, I read that as not actively looking at left tackles, just asking people that are calling, hey, we would like Deontay.
Why aren't they asking about like almost any position on defense?
Agreed.
What the fuck? Sorry.
I mean, listen, I am encouraged that somebody else sees what we do about needing to address the left tackle position. However, like now it has become part of a long list of things that need to be addressed, specifically with the defense. And look, I am optimistic about what Brooks can be. I don't disagree with you at all. I think it was a huge drop of the ball to not get a pass rusher in the 2nd round. At this point, coming off of a loss like the one they did, was that in Washington or was that in Charlotte?
It was
in Washington.
Who would know anymore, right? It was in Washington, because I remember somebody putting up a video of like, I don't know if it was that game or a different game where like a cable snapped and fell or something.
Here's the thing about that stadium. It was a FedEx Field. There is no way to know if that's the most recent video of that happening or not.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I was like, but yeah, it was there. It was.
I mean, I said this in the post-game video. Like, I thought this loss, top to bottom, was even worse than the Saints loss in week 1.
Yeah.
I am not alone in feeling that way. Like, I've seen a lot of people online make this same argument. I feel like this is the first week that the national narrative has very much coalesced around Dave Canales might be in over his head. I mean, certainly we have seen comments about, what he has to work with, how successful can he be, but boy, I saw a lot of really respected NFL minds this week talk about maybe you shouldn't be making this leap after a single year of calling plays.
Yeah, I mean, with him, it's weird because, like, he has, I would say, of the last few coaches they've had, he's had more moments for me that I've gone, okay, I really like that. Like, that's different. That's new. Like, especially some of the play designs, even some of the run play designs I've found, like, really interesting and, like, different.
But those are so few and far between at this point.
Well, or inconsequential, because what the problem is when they get down, it feels like he enters into panic mode, and that transfuses its way down. Like, I know on the surface he's this optimistic, like, let's stay even keeled and go get him guy, and maybe he's that way in his demeanor, but it's not that way with his play calling. Like, he immediately starts passing, and it's like, your running game has worked for you, and you can't just go away from that. Like, you have to be patient. You have to keep the football for some length of time to give your awful defense at least a chance to have 5. You know what I mean? Like, it's like there's no patience. It's like he just immediately, when things start going downhill, it's like he immediately panics, and I feel like the team then also panics, and that's not a good combo.
This is why the idea of making this leap after 1 year of calling plays kind of resonated with me, is what you said about he gets down and it feels like he panics. He gets way more conservative. You know, when you are both the play caller and the head coach, I wonder how much last year when the Buccaneers were down, it was Todd Bowles telling him, like, Dave, we got to keep pressing the gas. Keep pressing the gas. We're still going. That's not there anymore. That's one. The other is, and don't get me wrong, I think the move away from Bryce was the right move as a starting quarterback. Now, though, the way he talks about Andy Dalton and refuses to talk about Bryce Young almost seems like a comedy. It almost seems like you are watching a movie about, like a satirical movie about a dictator trying to convince you that there has never been an opposition candidate. What are you talking about? What do you mean he could be in jail? Like, the way he just refuses to address that this is not working is kind of surprising to me.
I wonder, though, how much of that is from Tepper, to be honest.
I would believe you based on what we know about Tepper.
Yeah.
I have trouble believing it based on what we know about Canales and the optimism bully thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just think maybe he was told, like, don't, like, maybe they are trying to trade him or something. So he's like, don't talk about it at all. Or what. I mean, who knows? Because, I mean, like, it would seem like to not acknowledge it. It's not the way to go about it. But they whatever it is, like, whatever their messaging is intended to be, like, it just comes across with Bryce. It just comes across as a bit of a jumbled mess. And I just wish someone over there could sort of take the reins and be like, all right, if we want to maximize any potential trade value we could get out of him, this is the way we need to. It doesn't seem that complicated to me. I literally just laid out what I would do if I were them. Be like, he's in. Well, although some NFL teams hate therapy, so who knows? But, like, he's with a sports psychologist. Like, he's had this little nagging ankle, and just make something up like they did a couple years ago. You know what I mean?
I do wonder if that experience a couple of years ago when the reporter asked Bryce and he said, I had no idea I was injured. I wonder if that's taught Dave Tepper, like, oh yeah, we can't lie about this guy. Like, he's
right. So instead of lying, they're just like, we'll say nothing. And it's like, well, no, like, that's not, that's the narrative I'd be pushing. I would seriously, I'd be like, look, he's been great in practice. Like, he's really, but we just are waiting to, just give some bullshit. Like, who's gonna question you? Like, NFL teams lie every week, and half the time we just swallow and believe them, and we don't care. And so, like, why? It's frustrating. Yeah, I agree, because it's like, why wouldn't you say that? I mean, I guess for me, it's hard to, like, unsee what everything we saw at the beginning of the year from Bryce and how panicky he looked and everything else. And so, like, to me, when people are like, why isn't Bryce playing? I'm like, well,
yeah, listen, to me, the question of why isn't Bryce playing is purely about, it's not any better with Andy Dalton, right? So why not play the guy that maybe has a future, even if you know he probably doesn't with you, right? Like, you certainly know Andy Dalton doesn't.
Like I said, the biggest thing I could think of is they just don't want to screw up any potential trade value that could exist. And then, the other part of it is, like, why do any further psychological damage to him? If I'm Bryce, I'm not exactly, like, chomping at the bit to get back out there with this group right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I would be lying if I told you I watched that post-game show that Shannon, Sharpe, and Chad Ochocinco do on their YouTube page, but it keeps getting fed to me on Mondays. My YouTube algorithm. Did you happen to see the way they attacked Canales at the post-game press conference when he said that, everything now is about supporting Andy Dalton?
No, I did not see it.
I'm going to play you this clip, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I did.
Oh, so it's not the quarterback, huh? And for a second there, I thought it was the quarterback. Hey, Coach Canales. What happened with Andy Dalton? Because you had fans and you had everybody that thinking it was Young. It was Bryce Young. Oh, y'all got a victory, and that's all we needed. That's all we needed.
All right, obviously simplified it very much.
Yeah,
but,
I'll say.
but I did enjoy what happened with Andy Dalton. That will be the
Also,
new way I begin every conversation of a Panthers loss.
I don't feel like Canales necessarily was the one saying like, "Oh, this is all Bryce's fault."
No, I don't think that's. I
Yeah.
think the whole idea of you made us think it was Bryce's fault really is like, well, yeah, Twitter made us think it was Bryce's fault.
Also,
because,
my eyeballs.
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
I'm
Twitter
not
made
saying
us
that
think
they're losing because of Bryce. It was more just like an, oh God, this makes me uncomfortable to watch. Make it stop.
Look, I'm sick of putting on the hat, so I'll just show it to you that I still have it, that I still love him dearly. But like, yeah, you hit it. Like, it's your eyeballs tell you that whether or not it's Bryce's fault, Bryce is clearly not ready to be an NFL starting quarterback. And I know that even as I say, I don't get why they're not playing him over Dalton. And that should be the rub, right? Like, that's the state of this team at this point.
Yes, 100%. Because like the thing is too, like one thing Andy wasn't doing initially that he is doing now was committing like silly turnovers.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that's like,
that pick six that Dante Fowler got. I mean, that was almost like he handed it to Fowler. It's just inexplicable because it is such a I've never played football before panic mistake that you just didn't expect out of him. The thing that I think is really tough with Canales is something you predicted early on in the year is the optimist bully shit is getting old. However, to play devil's advocate here, like in your first year being a head coach, trying to win over a locker room, what can you do? Like, what can you do? Like, you have not earned the right to go out publicly and do, the whole throw every single player under the bus and do the whole I'm calling the right calls. It's up to us to execute thing.
Look, and here's the thing. I'm not an NFL player, obviously, but like, I would respect a guy that came in there and was like, you know what? Like, my bad. Like,
sure,
I didn't do my best job for y'all. And let's like grow together and let's improve our mental outlook on things and like our resiliency and stuff. Let's do that together because I didn't do a good job of doing that for y'all last week because he didn't, full stop. Like he didn't. And maybe again, I have said this. Do I have hot person bias towards him? Yes, slightly. Okay. I am a human being.
Yeah.
I do a little bit, but at the same time, I do like some of what he has done schematically. I think an imaginative offensive coach is one we have not had around here ever, really, ever. And so, like, the fact that he is so young and everything else, and this is going to be like a multi-year rebuild for this team, we understand that at this point because this defense is like non-functional.
Yeah.
I don't hate the idea of like, let's see what happens if we let this group grow together and get better together. I am not against that necessarily.
I am not against letting him continue to learn on the job for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm with you. I think there are enough nuggets of what can be there with him as a play caller, if not the head coach. But also, this is the conundrum right now. If he really is in over his head, what can you do? Because you can't fire another coach, right?
That's the other thing too. You can't. So I show some patience for once.
Yeah. See, I think that the Canales hire is like, I think it has to be pointed out. Nobody else interviewed him to be a head coach. Nobody else was jumping to get this guy. I don't think that necessarily means he's not ready or he can't be the guy, but that is the reality of the way qualified candidates look at the Panthers right now. Like you can't cut bait.
Right. Like, because who else are you hiring? Exactly. So like we could say that all day long and be like, he's not ready and they need to fire him. But like for who? You know? And I think like there is something, it did seem like every other stop he'd been at, the players really cared about him and felt like he cared about them. And I do think that matters. And like I said, as long as he's in there, like sort of treating them like adults and taking his own version of accountability and saying, look, I can't ask y'all to be accountable if I'm not going to be. Yeah. Then I think that has like promise for the future. And I do not mind the idea of like giving him at least like 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I totally get in the NFL, after 2 years if you're onto something or not. But
I don't know though. Not always. We've seen some guys have rougher starts and then like kind of turn it around,
yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
look, I would wonder in some of those cases how much of it is about just getting the roster in place, and that is probably more about what the GM can do than the coach. However, I don't think the Panthers could afford Lauren to give him less than 3 years. Like they've got to show
Yeah.
some commitment to stability.
100%. And that's exactly what I think too. There's no way you even get coaches interested in coming here ever again if you continue to fire coaches that way. Even though I'm the one who argued that they should have fired Matt Rule before that season, but that's why it looked almost more impulsive. Though was because it was like after like 3 games and you're like, what this guy hasn't changed. He was the same coach at the end of last year. Why are you doing this now? Like that was always my biggest beef with it, was like, you should have done it before. And like, you have to show some patience. And I mean, honestly, my bigger worry is the fact that they're calling other teams asking about offensive tackles right now.
So look, I want to get to the bigger question we need to be asking about this team here in just a second. But first, OG Fans, that is our subscription service. It's where you find not only Lauren writing about the Carolina Panthers, but also Joe Giglio writing about the ACC. Lauren writes her pop culture column there, and Tom Edwards, a very talented writer we have covering the Canes. Lauren, I will tell you that your column this week, sort of going over what a history of loving horror movies has done to help you prepare for these Carolina Panthers, was probably your best work so far on OG Fans.
Thank you. Yeah, I got to talk about my favorite kill scene in Terrifier too.
So, as you know, I am not a horror movie person like at all, but I was curious enough to look up this scene.
Oh no, Demetri, no!
Well, here's the thing, Lauren. Because you had prepared me so much, I was already in the embrace the goofiness mode rather than
because those movies do have an inherent goofiness that makes them more digestible for people.
Right. I tell people all the time, and granted, I don't want to start watching the Terrifier or Saw movies or anything like that, but like slasher movies I can do because I know what I would do in that situation. I would get killed and it would be over. I cannot do I cannot do the supernatural stuff. That stuff scares the shit out of me.
Okay. Yeah. I watched a Korean supernatural one last night that scared the shit out of me. So
yeah. My wife, like you, loves horror movies, and I often get a you cannot come into the room right now message, whatever. Like I've been downstairs playing video games with our son or something, not come upstairs because she is watching something she knows will give her oldest baby nightmares. You can sign up for OG Fans today by going to ogtrianglemedia.com. Lauren, have you seen the clip from the halftime interview of Monday Night Football that is going around with Scott Van Pelt and Steph Curry?
No. Oh, God. Oh, no. Poor Steph.
Always great to visit with you, Steph, and stay well until the next time, all right?
Absolutely. Go Panthers.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. that we are very much at laughing stock stage. And so, Lauren, I want to ask you this as somebody that has followed this team for a long time. The conversation about is this team worse than the 1-15 2001 team has been out there. And I do want to know what you think about that. But my question to you is, even with a win, is this team worse than some of those winless teams that we have seen in the last 20 years?
God, I'm trying to remember some of them. I don't know. I mean, I
don't
think,
worry, Lauren. I've got some stats to back that up.
Oh, God. I can tell you this. Offensively, it's hard to say because that 1-15 team was a bigger mess, I think, than this one is offensively. But this is the worst Panthers defense I've ever seen. Ever. And it's not close. And I think some of those winless teams, they have that in common with them. The biggest, because again, like, sorry to harp on it. Like, I'm not trying to be one of those defense wins. You do have to have a good offense too, but like, you need a defense that is at least capable of getting stops sometimes. And the worst teams in the NFL ever have been some that have like some of the most horrendous defenses you'll ever see.
So that 2001 team, I think the biggest difference, and granted, this is a like can't know kind of thing right now because Mushin Muhammad was not even at his best as a Panther at that point when he was on that team. Steve Smith was a rookie. He certainly was not what he came into. So it's easy to say, well, the difference is there are no stars here, but it does feel a little more hopeless, I think, because there is no I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I see you roll your eyes, but like,
No, I'm not disagreeing. Okay. It feels more hopeless now for sure.
Like, I think the big difference here is in 2001, it was not clear. Like, it's obvious. They swung and missed at quarterback. They swung and missed in that same draft with Jonathan Mingo, the second round pick of that draft. Like, it didn't feel like there were so many swings and misses, and the guys we are optimistic for, Brooks hasn't been on the field yet. Apparently, Xavier Leggett, I guess Andy Dalton doesn't know he's on the field. Like, there's no usage.
Well, he
had
had some nice catches in the first half, especially. But
again, like, his targets keep going down. I just don't understand it. The other thing is, and this is on the defensive side of the ball, like, Mike Rucker had a standout year that year. Like, Mike Rucker had one of his best statistical seasons. There's nothing close to that.
There were pieces that year on both sides of the ball that you could look at and go, okay, this team sucks, but like, these guys are going to be important down the road. Yeah. For me, like, Leggett is still a guy like that.
I hope so. I mean, I'm hoping that whatever it is that has to get worked out in the passing game, whether it's things that Canales wants to see him work on, or whether it's just a more decisive quarterback, even if it's not Bryce or Dalton, if it's just, somebody next year that knows what they want to do a little bit quicker. I'm hoping that goes up because I'm optimistic. We just haven't seen it yet. Look, a lot has been said about this. This is the worst team in the NFL since Dave Tepper took over. 32-75, one game worse than your New York Jets at 33-74. All right, Lauren, here's where I told you I do have some stats to back up just how bad this team is compared to the winless teams of the last 20 years. Let's look at the 2008 Lions and the 2017 Browns. The Panthers average a 19-point loss per game this season. That is significantly worse by at least a touchdown than both of those teams through their first 7 games.
Yeah, that tracks. Okay.
They give up more rushing yards per game than anyone.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, they are 29. They give up 29 yards per play. I'm sorry, they are 29th in yards per play given up on the ground, 28th overall in defense. Here is the stat that, like, I was shocked. This is higher through 7 games than those 2 winless teams, because by virtue of being winless, Lauren, you would think, hey, they probably were punting a lot, right? The Panthers punt, like, they bring their punt team on the field 1.5 times per game more than they line up for a play that results in a score.
Well, to be fair, I was going to say, if you're that bad, you're probably turning it over a lot too. So maybe you're also not punting.
Yeah, the only place where they actually are better than those teams through 7 games is they are at a -6 turnover differential. But, we are not playing against the past. We're playing against the NFL that exists today, and that is second worst in the NFL. The only team worse is the team that they beat, the Las Vegas Raiders. With what do you think Vegas's turnover margin per game, or I'm sorry, not per game, turnover margin period is for the season at this point?
-12.
You're close, -13. And like that number shocked me. I'm surprised.
I thought I was too high.
No, it's bad. And here's
that's why I think that's why everybody says I hypothetically asked this just to have fun on Twitter. Was like, what quarterback could come in to a game, like an NFL quarterback could could enter a game against this Carolina Panthers defense, and you'd go, well, now they have a chance. And the consensus seemed to be Gardner Minshew, so that tracks.
Who did he play in that game? Didn't Aiden O'Connell play the game against? I
think he played some in that game. Yeah, I thought so.
I mean, I saw you and I talked about whether or not Nathan Peterman is still in the league, and I guess technically, right, he's on a practice squad.
By the way, I'm judging y'all so hard for this. What are we all doing?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, I look at the 2017 Browns team. And like, one thing that I think they got right, that even that 01 Panthers team got right, is they looked at their quarterback situation, right? And in the case of the 17 Browns, it was, okay, the quarterback is Deshaun Kaiser. Not awful his rookie year, but there's a reason he didn't last the season as a starting quarterback and did not become a starting quarterback anywhere else. Their rookie running back was Isaiah Crowell, who did not set the world on fire, but the Panthers were at least smart enough to recognize if we are going to make hay, it's going to be on the ground, and we are going to run Crowell into the ground. It seems like Dave Canales, and maybe this is a mandate from Tepper. I don't know. He doesn't seem to be interested in just feed it to Chuba. Nothing else is working. Just let Chuba run until his legs fall off.
That's my biggest beef with him, honestly, is like he talks about wanting to run the ball a lot. And he even does some cool things at times when they do run the ball that I really like. But then, like I said, it's like it almost seems like it shifts because honestly, like on a lot of their first or second possessions, like when they start to get some first downs go, I think that's where he's been at his best. Like play calling wise, I'm like, yes, he's like gets in a rhythm and you're like, okay, yes, I see what you're doing. And then all of a sudden, like something happens where the defense gives up a quick score or like the offense has a pick six or whatever it is. And all of a sudden he's like passing every play. And you're just like, hello, Chuba's right there. Hello. Like it's the first half. You don't have to pass on every play. Like it's fine.
And look, you and I love college football, right? Like I think we will be the first to tell you that there is a reason that the service academies are always the teams that lead the nation in time of possession, right? The Panthers are amongst a small group of teams, but all the teams this season that are under 50% time of possession per game are really bad. And the Panthers are at about a little under 44% time of possession in a ball game. And that, I think you just hit the nail on the head. Like when you are panicking and every play is a pass, you are only adding up, maybe 3 to 4 seconds of TOP on each play. Like you're not going to be able to hold on to the ball, give your defense, which already is not good, the time they need to rest to come back out as effective as possible. Like this is just, it feels like a disaster in a way that I can't speak to about the 2001 team. Maybe you can, but certainly this feels like a disaster worthy of 0 wins.
Yeah, I mean, look, George Seifert was a very bizarre man at that point, coach at that time in his career and person. I do remember that much. But like, my thing is like, it's a little bit like kind of the sunk cost. I mean, I hate to bring it up again. I wonder if this isn't at play some here, maybe from the Tepper part or whatever, where it's like, we got all these offensive weapons and we want to use them. You know, we paid all this good money, you know, it's like one of those types of things. Like we bought this Lamborghini, we better drive it around in this blizzard. And it's like, okay, here's my thing though. If you look at this very simply and you go, okay, so you spent all the money on the offense, right? And I get that. But that means you also didn't spend money on the defense, which also means which unit do you want out there the least amount of time as possible as you can? Who do you want to have the ball most of the time? Your offense. How do you keep that football? Usually by having a successful running game that you commit to and don't go away from. And that's what they're just not doing. And then even at the times where they pull Chuba out and like put in Miles Sanders, I'm like, but why?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, to your point earlier about there had been some creative play calling in the run game. Remember, through those first 3 weeks, they were finding ways to use Jonathan Mingo in the run game. They were finding ways to use Deontay Johnson in the run game. Like if that is where you put the majority of your money on this offense is in the receivers, find ways to use them in ways that work for the offense.
Yes. And it's just like, that's not, there's some of that happening, but it's not enough. And whatever the offensive, it's unclear at times what they want their offensive philosophy to be like, even during the same football game. Yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious. They want their offensive philosophy to be 11 throws to Jalen Coker every game.
Oh my God. It's literally murdering my insides.
Yeah.
See every week.
I mean, I'm glad he's been better than we expect, but at this point, like the amount of targets he's getting is almost like it's almost like it's a joke to Dave Canales or Andy Dalton.
It's a little bit like it's a little bit like when your big man gets open at the top of the key for a 3.
Right.
It's like he's open for a reason, my guy.